Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of Sleepless History. Today, we're embarking on a journey back to the late Cretaceous period, an era when the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex roamed the earth. Picture this, a colossal creature, towering at over 40 feet long and standing nearly 15 feet tall, with a head the size of a small car. Yes, that's right. T-Rex wasn't just a king. He was the king of the dinosaurs. But what was life like for our scaly friend during those harsh and tumultuous times? Buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride filled with a touch of humor. Imagine waking up in the late Cretaceous. The sun is just peeking over the horizon, casting a golden light on the lush, prehistoric landscape. The air is thick with humidity, and the smell of ferns and flowering plants fills your nostrils. But let's be real, if you're a T-Rex, you're probably more focused on the fact that you have tiny arms and a very large appetite. That's right, folks. The most fearsome predator in history had arms that were laughably short, like those of an overzealous toddler trying to reach the cookie jar. Now, picture our T-Rex lumbering through the forest, tripping over its own feet, because let's face it, those tiny arms can't help with balance. Every now and then he glances at his reflection in a nearby pond, admiring those gigantic jaws filled with serrated teeth that could crush bone. He opens his mouth wide to let out a roar, but instead it sounds more like a deep, gravelly burp. "Excuse me," he might say, a little embarrassed, "just had a particularly crunchy hadrosaur for breakfast." Speaking of breakfast, let's talk about the daily struggles of being a T-Rex. Sure, you're the apex predator, but hunting isn't as glamorous as it sounds. First, you have to find something to eat, and let me tell you, those herbivores are fast, especially when they see a giant lizard with teeth that could double as garden shears barreling towards them. Imagine the T-Rex trying to sneak up on a group of unsuspecting dinosaurs, only to have them spot him from a mile away. Great, he thinks. I just wanted a snack, but now I'm the punchline of a prehistoric joke. And let's not forget the awkwardness of being the biggest creature in the neighborhood. Imagine the other dinosaurs gossiping about you behind your back. Did you see how he tripped over that log? I mean, come on. He's supposed to be a predator. You can almost hear them snickering as the T-Rex tries to regain his composure. "I'm not clumsy. I'm just practicing my dance moves," he might retort, attempting to save face. Now let's talk about social life. T-Rex wasn't a solitary creature all the time. He had to socialize, just like the rest of us. So there he is, at the local watering hole, trying to mingle with the other dinosaurs. Picture him awkwardly hovering around a group of triceratops, trying to join in the conversation. So, how about that new fern patch over by the river? Looks tasty, right? The triceratops just stare at him, their 3 horns gleaming menacingly. "Yeah, buddy, but you know we're not on the menu, right?" Dating was also a challenge. Imagine a T-Rex attempting to woo a potential mate. "Hey there, beautiful," he might say, puffing out his chest. "I've got a great cave and a whole stash of bones. What do you say we grab some dinner?" The female would probably roll her eyes. "Dinner? You mean me running for my life while you try to catch me? Yeah, I think I'll pass." Ouch. Rejection must have stung harder than the sharpest tooth. And then there was the constant competition with other carnivores. Think of it as a prehistoric version of Survivor, but instead of challenges, it was all about who could outsmart the other in the hunt. Picture a group of raptors circling a T-Rex, teasing him about his size. "Hey, big guy, we need to take a group photo. You stand in the back, and we'll make you look even taller." The T-Rex would grumble. Yeah, laugh it up while I'm the one who gets to eat." But amidst all the humor and harsh realities, there was a certain beauty in the struggle. Life as a T-Rex was not just about survival. It was about finding your place in this vast world. Each day was a new adventure, whether it was chasing down prey or navigating social interactions that were sometimes more complex than a T-Rex trying to tie its shoelaces, if they had any, that is. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the land, our T-Rex would settle down after a long day of hunting and socializing. He'd curl up in his cave, surrounded by the remnants of his meals, and let out a satisfied sigh. Sure, life was tough, and sometimes it felt like the universe was laughing at him. But as he closed his eyes, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. After all, he was the Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of the dinosaurs. And if nothing else, he had a great story to tell. So, dear listeners, as we wrap up this exploration of life as a T-Rex during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the mightiest of creatures had their struggles. They faced challenges, awkward moments, and the occasional dietary mishap. Yet they thrived in a world that was as beautiful as it was brutal. And perhaps in our own lives, we can find a bit of that T-Rex spirit, a blend of humor, resilience, and the courage to face whatever challenges come our way. Thank you for joining me on this prehistoric journey today. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive, and remember, history can be both harsh and hilarious. Dear listeners, let's dive back into the chaotic life of our friend, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you thought the daily grind of a T-Rex was all about roaring and being the undisputed heavyweight champion of the Cretaceous, think again. Life was a constant balancing act between being a terrifying predator and navigating the pitfalls of a prehistoric existence. So let's strap in and explore the hilariously harsh realities of being the king of the dinosaurs. First, let's talk about the food situation. You might think that being a T-Rex meant you had an all-you-can-eat buffet of herbivores at your disposal, but let me tell you, hunting was no simple task. Sure, you could sniff out a juicy hadrosaur from miles away, but those plant munchers had a few tricks up their sleeves. They were fast, agile, and had a sixth sense for trouble. You could practically hear them saying, "Oh look, it's a T-Rex! Quick, let's all run in different directions like headless chickens." Imagine our T-Rex all pumped up and ready to chase down dinner, only to see a group of hadrosaurs scatter like leaves in the wind. Really, guys? You couldn't just stand there and let me catch you? I'm trying to maintain my reputation here. With each failed attempt, the T-Rex's frustration grew. He'd stomp around, muttering to himself, "Why can't these guys just accept their fate? I'm not a monster. I'm just a misunderstood predator." Now, if you thought hunting was the only challenge, think again. Let's discuss the weather conditions of the late Cretaceous. Imagine waking up to a hot, humid day with a chance of sudden thunderstorms. You think you have it rough when the weather changes? Picture a T-Rex trying to take a leisurely stroll, only to be caught in a downpour. Those massive feet don't do well in mud, and before you know it, our T-Rex is stuck in a puddle, flailing around like a giant, confused baby trying to stand up. I thought I was the king of the dinosaurs, not the king of the mud pit. As the rain pours down, he'd probably let out a frustrated roar, which, let's be honest, sounds more like a disgruntled grumble. Ugh, this is just great. I finally get a day off from hunting, and I'm stuck here looking like a soggy dinosaur. The other creatures in the area would be laughing, pointing fingers at the T-Rex floundering in the mud. Look at him, the mighty T-Rex, defeated by a little rain. Talk about adding insult to injury. And let's not forget the territorial disputes. Life in the Cretaceous was like living in a never-ending episode of a reality show where everyone was vying for the same space. You could just picture a T-Rex wandering into another's territory, only to be met by a rival who's not too happy about the invasion. "Hey buddy, this part of the forest is mine. You think you can just waltz in here and claim my hunting ground?" Now, you'd think a T-Rex could just use his size to intimidate the other predator, right? But no. Instead, they often resorted to a good old-fashioned shouting match. "I'm the king of the dinosaurs," one would bellow. "Well, I'm the king of this territory," the other would retort, puffing his chest out. It's like watching a couple of toddlers argue over who gets the biggest slice of cake. "No, you can't have it. I saw it first." And when the dust settled, the T-Rex would sometimes walk away with a bruised ego rather than a meal. "Great. Now I've lost my lunch and my pride," he might grumble as he stomps back to his cave, feeling more like a sitcom character than a fearsome carnivore. Now, let's talk about the social dynamics of T-Rex life. While some dinosaurs were busy forming herds and working together, our T-Rex was more of a lone wolf, dinosaur. Sure, he had friends, if you could call them that, but they were more like acquaintances you'd wave to at a party, but wouldn't invite to your cave for dinner. It's not like he could send out a group text, "Hey guys, who's up for a hunt later? Bring your A-game, I'm feeling extra hungry." Instead, he'd often find himself in awkward situations, like running into an old buddy while out hunting. "Oh, hey, Tyranno, long time no see. Still munching on herbivores, I see." It's all fun and games until one of them accidentally starts talking about their latest hunt in graphic detail. So I cornered this hadrosaur the other day, and let me tell you, it was a real struggle. T-Rex tries to smile politely while internally screaming, "Can we please talk about something else? Like the weather? Or the mud? Anything but your gruesome hunting stories." Of course, there were moments of camaraderie, especially during mating season. Picture 2T. Rex is awkwardly trying to impress each other. "Hey there, gorgeous. Check out my teeth. They're like serrated steak knives." The female T-Rex might respond with a raised eyebrow. "Wow, but can you actually catch something with those teeth? Or are they just for show?" Ouch. Talk about a reality check. And let's not forget about the parenting challenges. Yes, T-Rex did have younglings, and raising them was a task worthy of its own comedy special. The mother T-Rex, having just laid a clutch of eggs, would have to endure the chaos of tiny T-Rexes running around, trying to figure out how to use those big feet of theirs. No, no, no. You're supposed to eat the plants, not your sibling. Imagine the chaos as the little ones trip over each other, their tiny arms flailing, trying to assert dominance over the food. "I'm bigger. I get the first bite." As the hatchlings grow, the mother would try to teach them the ways of the T-Rex. All right, listen up, kids. First rule, always check behind you before you roar. You don't want to scare off your next meal. But of course, the little ones would be too busy wrestling and play fighting, forgetting the very lessons she was trying to impart. "I'm going to be the biggest and baddest T-Rex ever," one of them might declare, only to trip over a rock and tumble down a hill. Yeah, right. More like the biggest klutz. And then comes the moment of truth. When the hatchlings are ready to leave the nest, the mother T-Rex would take a deep breath and sigh, "Good luck out there, kiddos. Remember, you're not just cute, you're also terrifying. Now go and find your own hadrosaurs to munch on." As they scamper off into the wilderness, she can't help but feel a mix of pride and anxiety. Will they survive? Will they remember to use those big teeth for eating and not just as decoration? As the sun sets each day, our T-Rex would find solace in the stillness of the night. He'd curl up in his cave, his massive body taking up most of the space, and reflect on the day's events. Sure, life was filled with challenges, awkward moments, and the occasional mud bath, but it was also a life full of adventure and unpredictability. In the end, being a T-Rex during the late Cretaceous was like being cast in a prehistoric sitcom. There were ups and downs, moments of triumph and utter embarrassment, and a whole lot of laughter. So the next time you think of the mighty T-Rex, remember that even the king of the dinosaurs had his fair share of hilarious struggles. Thank you for joining me on this wild and wacky journey through the life of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and never forget that history, while often harsh, can also be delightfully funny. As we dive deeper into the life of the Tyrannosaurus Rex during the late Cretaceous, let's explore some of the more humorous yet harsh realities of his existence. It's not all about roaring and terrorizing the herbivores. There are plenty of comedic misadventures lurking in the shadows of this colossal predator's daily routine. Let's start with the unfortunate reality of grooming. Yes, dear listeners, even a T-Rex had to deal with the occasional itch. Imagine a creature of that size trying to scratch its back. Picture him awkwardly rubbing against a tree, trying to reach that one stubborn spot that just won't relent. Ugh, why can't I just reach it? I'm a T-Rex, for crying out loud. How is this my life? You can almost hear the trees groaning under the weight of a frustrated T-Rex. I'm not a scratching post. Get off. And let's not even get started on the whole idea of personal hygiene. With all that hunting in mud, maintaining a pristine appearance was a challenge. You could see our T-Rex trudging through the muck, and when he finally caught sight of his reflection in a pond, he'd probably let out a sigh. Is that really me? I look like I just rolled in a pile of Triceratops dung. Great. Just great. How am I supposed to impress anyone looking like this? Even worse were the pesky parasites. Imagine a T-Rex swatting at bugs the size of small birds, trying to fend them off while simultaneously avoiding stepping on his own tail. Really? I'm the king of dinosaurs and I'm being harassed by mosquitoes? This is just embarrassing. You can picture him shaking his head in disbelief as he swatted with those tiny arms, feeling like a giant, awkward dinosaur trying to swat away a fly. I have teeth that could crush bones, and yet here I am, struggling with insects. What a way to end the day. Now, let's talk about the social dynamics of being a T-Rex. In a world filled with towering herbivores and cunning carnivores, drama was inevitable. The T-Rex had a reputation to uphold, but that didn't come without its fair share of rivalries. Imagine stumbling upon a rival T-Rex while out for a stroll. "Hey buddy, I see you've been eating well," the rival would sneer, puffing out his chest. "I've been eating better than you, that's for sure." You can practically feel the tension in the air. It's like a prehistoric showdown, only instead of guns and bravado, they had to rely on sheer size and intimidation. The T-Rex would take a deep breath, trying to suppress a nervous chuckle. "Oh yeah? Well, my mom can beat up your mom." Because nothing says fierce competition like a classic playground insult, right? And if it weren't enough dealing with rivals, there were the everyday interactions with fellow dinosaurs. Imagine our T-Rex attempting to make small talk with a group of herbivores. "So, nice day to be a hadrosaur, huh?" The hadrosaurs would exchange glances, unsure if they should run or engage. "Yeah, great day to be a snack, right?" one would quip nervously. "Oh, come on, I'm just trying to be friendly here." You can imagine the awkwardness escalating as the T-Rex tries to maintain his intimidating persona while desperately wanting to fit in. "I swear, I'm not just here for dinner, I promise." And oh, the mating rituals. The T-Rex didn't have it easy, despite being the most fearsome predator on the block. Picture him trying to impress a potential mate with his best roar, but instead, it comes out as a rather unimpressive croak. "Hey there, lady, check out my impressive roar." And instead of a powerful bellow, out comes a sound that resembles a disgruntled cat. "Ugh, why can't I get this right? I'm supposed to be the king." Meanwhile, the female T-Rex raises an eyebrow, trying to stifle a laugh. "Nice try, big guy, but I'm gonna need more than a cat sound to be impressed." Then there's the awkward courtship dance. Imagine our T-Rex trying to show off, lumbering around in a series of clumsy movements, attempting to attract a mate. "Look at my massive tail, isn't it impressive?" But with every swing of his tail, he knocks over a bush or accidentally steps on his own foot. "Oops, not what I meant to do, just showcasing my grace here." The female might chuckle, thinking, "Grace? More like a giant dinosaur trying to do the cha-cha." And let's not forget about family dynamics. Once he found a mate and had some little hatchlings, life became a whole new level of chaos. Imagine a T-Rex parent trying to teach their younglings how to hunt. All right, kids, first rule, don't chase after everything that moves. But inevitably, the little ones would see a butterfly and take off like missiles. "Wait, no, that's not what I meant." There he would be, chasing after his young, trying to instill wisdom while simultaneously preventing them from making the biggest mistake of their lives. "You can't eat that. It's not even a hadrosaur. Get back here." As the younglings grew, the T-Rex would have to contend with their rebellious streak. "Dad, I don't want to eat what you eat. I want to try something new," one of the young T-Rexes would declare, crossing his tiny arms. "New? What do you mean?" The youngling would look around, spotting a nearby brontosaurus munching on leaves. "I want to be a herbivore." The father T-Rex would facepalm, figuratively, of course, since he had tiny arms. "You do realize you're a meat eater, right? You can't just decide to switch teams. That's not how this works." And let's talk about the culinary disasters that could happen in the life of a T-Rex. Imagine a T-Rex trying to cook up a meal. "All right, kids, gather around. Today we're going to have a family dinner." There he would be, trying to light a fire, because even T-Rexes needed a bit of warmth, only to accidentally knock over a pile of branches and set off a mini forest fire. "Great! Now I've gone and made a bonfire instead of dinner. This is not how I envisioned my evening going." And when it came time to eat, the T-Rex would have to deal with the embarrassing moments that inevitably popped up. Let's say he finally catches a hadrosaur and proudly brings it back to the cave. "Look, everyone, dinner is served." But as he goes to take a bite, he accidentally chokes on a bone. "Gah, just what I need! A bone stuck in my throat. How am I supposed to maintain my fearsome reputation while trying to cough up a bone?" Meanwhile, The hatchlings would be giggling, watching their dad struggle to regain his composure. "Dad, do you need some water?" they might ask, snickering. "Do I look like I need water?" he would retort, turning a shade of crimson that would be hard to accomplish with scaly skin. "I'm just practicing my dramatic choking skills here. It's all part of the act." As the day came to a close, our T-Rex would find himself reflecting on the absurdity of it all. Life was a mix of hunting, awkward social encounters, and the ongoing battle against mud, insects, and the occasional rival. Yet amidst all the chaos, there was a sense of pride in being a T-Rex. He was part of a legacy that spanned millions of years, filled with stories of triumph and hilarity. So as the stars twinkled above, the T-Rex would curl up in his cave, surrounded by the chaos of his younglings and the remnants of the day. You know what? It's not so bad being a T-Rex. Sure, I have my challenges, but look at all the adventures I get to have. Who else gets to wake up and be the ultimate predator, even if I do trip over my own feet and struggle with cooking? And so, dear listeners, as we conclude this hilarious yet harsh examination of life as a T-Rex during the late Cretaceous, let's carry forward the lessons learned. There's humor in the struggle, and even the mightiest creatures have their awkward moments. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of the King of the Dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the chaos of life and remember to find the humor even in the harshest of circumstances. Ah, yes, dear listeners, let's plunge even deeper into the Cretaceous chronicles of our favorite dinosaur, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you thought we had already uncovered the depths of absurdity in his life, prepare for more hilarity mixed with harsh realities. Life as a T. Rex was a roller coaster of comical encounters, each day a new episode of what could possibly go wrong. Let's rewind a moment to the daily grind. Picture it. Dawn breaks over the lush Cretaceous landscape, and our T-Rex stumbles out of his cave, blinking at the brightness of the sun. Ugh, why does it always feel like I'm waking up after a bender? Did I really eat that much last night? As he stretches his massive limbs, those tiny arms barely making a dent in the stretching routine, he'd probably grumble, "You'd think being a T-Rex would come with a decent yoga class or something." After a hearty breakfast of whatever unfortunate herbivore he managed to catch, it's time to hit the social scene. Ah yes, the local watering hole, where dinosaurs of all shapes and sizes gather to drink, gossip, and occasionally throw shade. You can imagine the T, Rex sauntering in, all swagger and bravado, trying to assert his dominance. "Hey everyone, look who's here! It's the king of the dinosaurs." But instead of the awe he expected, the other dinosaurs simply exchange glances, stifling laughter. "Oh look, it's Mr. Tiny Arms again? What's he gonna do? Give us a tickle?" The T-Rex stands there feeling a bit deflated, trying to salvage the situation. Yeah, laugh it up. Just wait until I start doing push-ups. You'll be super impressed." But deep down, he knows he'd probably need a whole team of raptors just to help him get back up. Now let's pivot to the social awkwardness that comes with being a T-Rex. Imagine trying to make small talk. "So, how's the weather? Nice and sunny for a good old hunt, right?" The other dinosaurs would just look at him, bemused. "You really don't get out much, do you? You always talk about hunting like it's the only thing you know." In the realm of relationships, things didn't fare much better. Ah, mating season, the time when every dinosaur puts on their best show to attract a mate. Our T-Rex, in all his glory, would puff out his chest and practice his best mating calls. "Roar! Check out my impressive vocal range." But what came out was more of a croaky honk. "You've got to be kidding me. I sound like a dying duck." When he finally spotted a potential mate, you could see the panic in his eyes. "Okay, just be cool," he would mutter to himself. "You're a T-Rex. You've got this." But as he approached, trying to look suave, he'd inadvertently step on a twig, producing a loud snap. "Oh great, now I sound like a clown." The female would look at him, half amused, half bewildered. "Is that your best move? Stomping around like a toddler?" Meanwhile, the young T-Rexes would watch from the sidelines, whispering among themselves. "Dad's really trying hard, isn't he? Should we be embarrassed or impressed?" The little ones would snicker. At least he's got the roaring part down, sort of. After all the awkward encounters and failed attempts at romance, the T-Rex would retreat to his cave, flopping down with a huff. Why is this so complicated? I just want to find someone who appreciates my gigantic teeth. But the trials didn't end at social gatherings. Let's explore the challenges of parenting. Once the hatchlings arrived, life got exponentially crazier. Imagine a T-Rex trying to wrangle a group of energetic younglings. All right, kids, time to learn how to hunt. But instead of focusing on the lesson, they would be more interested in seeing who could trip over their own feet first. Look, Dad, I can run in circles. The T-Rex would facepalm, wishing he could just take a nap instead. Why do I have to teach you everything? Just stop chasing after shadows. You're supposed to be learning how to eat, not how to get eaten. And let's talk about the infamous family dinner. Mealtime was a spectacle of chaos. Picture the T-Rex bringing back a sizable hadrosaur, proudly presenting it to his family. Dinner is served, everyone. Now let's eat like the kings we are. But as soon as he sets it down, the hatchlings would pounce on it like it was a toy, wrestling each other for the biggest bite. No, I saw it first. It's mine. The poor T-Rex would stand there, bewildered. You guys are acting like you've never seen food before. Calm down. This isn't a wrestling match. Meanwhile, the hatchlings would completely ignore their dad, caught up in a frenzy that resembles a food fight rather than a family meal. I'm going to get the leg. No, I'm going for the tail. After what felt like an eternity of chaos, the T-Rex would finally get a moment of quiet, only to be interrupted by one of the younglings saying, "Dad, can we have dessert?" Dessert? What does a T-Rex even consider dessert? I guess you could have some nice leaves? Or do you want me to catch another herbivore? Because I'm fresh out of ideas here. Parenting wasn't just about mealtime. It was also about navigating the dangers of the Cretaceous world. One day, while out on a family outing, they encountered a pack of raptors. All right, kids, stay close. These guys are sneaky and fast. But instead of listening, the hatchlings took off in different directions, chasing after the raptors. Hey, come back, we're not playing tag. The T-Rex found himself in a full-blown panic. I didn't sign up for this. Where do I even start? He'd bumble after them, his massive feet thudding against the ground, trying to corral his wayward children. You can't just run off. What if those raptors decide to have you for lunch instead? By the time he gathered them all back, he was out of breath, panting heavily. You guys are going to give me a heart attack. I'm the one who's supposed to be the terrifying predator here. And let's not forget the ongoing rivalries. Life as a T-Rex meant always being on guard. Imagine bumping into another T-Rex and the ensuing showdown. Hey, this is my territory. You can't just waltz in here. The rival would snort back, "Oh, really? I didn't see your name on it." What would follow next would be a series of exaggerated roars and posturing, both predators trying to outdo each other. But with each roar, our T-Rex would internally cringe, fearing he might sound ridiculous. Please let me sound fierce. I can't let him know I'm secretly just a big softie. The tension would rise until one of them accidentally slips in the mud, the other bursting into laughter. Nice one, big guy. Is that your battle strategy? Slip and slide? Mortified, the T-Rex would just shake his head. This is not how I envisioned my day going. And let's touch on the weather, which could be a literal pain in the neck. Imagine the T-Rex trying to enjoy a sunny day only for it to turn stormy unexpectedly. Oh great, just what I needed. Storm clouds. Now I'll be muddy and miserable. He'd stomp around trying to find a suitable shelter, but with those massive feet, finding a suitable hiding spot was a challenge. Why does everything have to be so difficult? I'm the biggest dinosaur here. Why can't I just find a nice cave that's, not already occupied? When it rained, he'd end up looking like a soggy mess, and the other dinosaurs would take great delight in teasing him. Hey, look at T-Rex. Now he's a tyrannosaugy. What a sight! The T-Rex, drenched and annoyed, would just grumble back. At least I'm not the one stuck eating ferns. As twilight descended, our T-Rex would finally return to his cave, exhausted but with a hint of a smile. You know what? Today was a disaster in the best possible way. Sure, I tripped, failed at socializing, and got muddy, but at least I can say I lived to tell the tale. So, dear listeners, as we wrap up this hilarious and harsh exploration of T-Rex life during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the fiercest of predators faced their fair share of challenges. From parenting mishaps to social blunders and territorial rivalries, the life of a T-Rex was a chaotic blend of comedy and struggle. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges, and remember that even the most fearsome creatures have their moments of hilarity. As we continue our exploration of life as a Tyrannosaurus rex during the late Cretaceous, let's delve into even more of the hilariously harsh realities our scaly friend faced. The life of a T-Rex was a blend of grandeur and absurdity, where each day brought new challenges and every misstep was a potential source of comedy. Let's talk about hunting, arguably the most vital skill for a T-Rex. You would think being a massive predator would make hunting a walk in the park, but oh no, it was more like a chaotic game of tag with a side of slapstick comedy. Picture our T-Rex stealthily stalking a herd of hadrosaurs. All right, stealth mode activated, he might whisper to himself, trying to channel all the grace of a ninja. But with those enormous feet thudding against the ground, stealth was more like an elephant on roller skates. As he crouches behind a bush, he can almost taste victory. Just a little closer, and I'll have dinner. It's going to be delicious. But inevitably, something would go wrong. Perhaps he'd accidentally knock a branch with his massive tail, snapping it in two and sending a shower of leaves flying. Oh, great! Now they know I'm here. The hadrosaurs would glance around, eyes wide with panic, and before he knew it, they were off like a shot. Hey, come back. I wasn't ready. I just wanted to eat. And let's not forget about the sheer embarrassment of being outsmarted by a creature that's half his size. There he would stand, panting and frustrated, as the hadrosaurs bounded away, leaving him to grumble under his breath. How is this fair? I'm the king of the dinosaurs. I shouldn't be losing to a bunch of salad munchers. After a few failed attempts at hunting, our T-Rex might decide to take a break and head to his favorite watering hole. But even there, life was fraught with misfortunes. Imagine him awkwardly bending down to take a drink, only to misjudge the angle and end up with his entire head submerged. Gah, water in my nose, not the glamorous life I envisioned. As he sputtered and flailed, the other dinosaurs would look on, snickering. Hey, T-Rex, need a snorkel? It's moments like these that would make any T-Rex question his life choices. All I wanted was a refreshing drink. Why must everything be so complicated? After finally managing to drink without drowning himself, he would look up, only to see a group of smaller carnivores eyeing him suspiciously. What are you looking at? He'd huff. You've never seen a T-Rex struggle before? It's a tough job. But the social dynamics at the watering hole were even more bizarre. Every time he approached, the other dinosaurs would act like it was the most intense reality show. Oh, look, it's the T-Rex. What's he going to do this time? Trip over his own feet? He could practically hear them whispering. What's next? Is he going to try to impress us with his terrible roar again? And so, instead of the kingly presence he hoped to project, he became the punchline of every dinosaur joke. You know, I once saw a T-Rex try to catch a butterfly. Spoiler alert, he lost. The T-Rex would roll his eyes, thinking, yeah, laugh it up. Just wait until I'm the one feasting on your relatives. As the sun began to set, signaling the end of another chaotic day, our T-Rex would shuffle back to his cave, feeling a mix of exhaustion and humiliation. Why does everything have to be so hard? He'd mutter. I'm a gigantic dinosaur. I shouldn't be struggling with basic tasks. But of course, the universe wasn't done playing tricks on him. One fateful evening, as he settled down for some well-deserved rest, a sudden noise jolted him awake. What now? He grumbled, trying to shake off the sleep. Emerging from the shadows was a group of raptors, their eyes gleaming with mischief. Look who's napping. Think we can steal his dinner? The T-Rex shot up, instinctively roaring, but it came out as more of a sleepy croak. Hey, get away from my food! But the raptors were quick, darting in and out with the agility that only they possessed. Can't catch us, can you, big guy? One taunted, and before he could react, they had snatched a piece of his leftover meal. Really? I can't even keep my food safe from a bunch of glorified chickens? He lamented, watching as they scampered off into the darkness. This is my life. A T-Rex, reduced to being a food source for feathered pests. The next day brought new challenges. Our T-Rex decided to venture out for a little light exercise, a brisk walk to clear his mind and shake off the embarrassment of the previous day. However, as he lumbered through the forest, he found himself in a particularly muddy area. Ugh, not again. Why does the ground always seem to conspire against me? Before he knew it, he was stuck in a quagmire, legs flailing as he tried to regain his footing. This is not how a king should go down, stuck in mud like a giant dinosaur. Just then, a group of smaller dinosaurs passed by, and upon seeing the T-Rex in distress, they couldn't help but laugh. "Hey, T-Rex, need a tow truck?" As he finally managed to free himself, he shook off the mud, looking more like a soggy mess than the fearsome creature he aspired to be. "You know what? I'm done with this. I need a vacation," he declared, marching off in a huff, vowing never to return to that treacherous patch of mud. But vacations weren't exactly a T-Rex's strong suit. Imagine him trying to relax on a beach, if such a thing existed in the Cretaceous. Ah, the sun, the sand. Wait, what's that? If he tried to lounge, he'd probably end up getting covered in sand, looking like a giant, scaly sandcastle. Great, now I'm just a T-Rex with a bad sunburn and an unfortunate tan line. And let's not forget about the hazards of the Cretaceous environment. One day, while exploring a new area, our T-Rex stumbled upon a volcanic region. Ooh, lava! This could be interesting. But as he approached, the heat radiating from the ground, he realized he had underestimated the situation. Uh-oh! That's hot! Why did I think this was a good idea? As he turned to retreat, he realized he had backed himself into a corner, a literal corner of lava. This is it. I'm going to be the first T-Rex to become a crispy critter. With a frantic leap, he managed to escape, his heart racing. Note to self, never underestimate the power of a volcano. And as if the universe hadn't already thrown enough at him, there were still the seasonal challenges. Imagine the T-Rex trying to navigate through the torrential rains of the Cretaceous. "Why is it always raining when I want to go out?" he'd grumble, watching the downpour from the safety of his cave. "I didn't sign up for this soggy lifestyle." And when the rains finally subsided, the landscape would transform into a chaotic swamp. Fantastic! Now I have to deal with mud and puddles for the next week. He'd attempt to venture out, only to find himself slipping and sliding all over the place, looking more like a clumsy dinosaur than a terrifying predator. Just call me T-Rex, king of slips and falls. But perhaps the most amusing aspect of being a T-Rex was the way he would often find himself in bizarre situations. One day, while hunting, he inadvertently stumbled into the territory of a group of overly confident ankylosaurs. "Hey, this is our spot," one of them declared, puffing out his armored chest. "Oh, really? You think you can take me on? I'm a T-Rex," he roared, trying to maintain his dignity. But instead of cowering in fear, the ankylosaurs just chuckled. "Oh, please, we're not scared of you. You're just a big lizard with tiny arms." And before he knew it, he was caught in a battle of wits with these armored herbivores. "Can't you see I'm trying to eat here?" he protested, attempting to sidestep them, but they formed a wall, blocking his path. "Not today, big guy. You'll have to find another dinner." In a fit of frustration, our T-Rex would storm off, muttering under his breath, "I can't believe I'm being outsmarted by walking tanks. What is life?" As dusk settled over the land, our T-Rex returned to his cave, exhausted from the day's antics. "You know what? This is harder than I thought," he would sigh, plopping down to rest. "Being a T-Rex is supposed to be glorious, but all I do is trip over my own feet, get caught in mud, and get laughed at by smaller dinosaurs. Is this really what it means to be king?" And as he drifted off to sleep, he'd dream of a simpler time when life was less complicated, maybe a time when he could just lounge and bask in the sun without a care in the world. But alas, as a T-Rex, those days seemed far away. Thank you, dear listeners, for joining me on this uproarious journey through the life of a Tyrannosaurus Rex during the late Cretaceous. As we wrap up, remember that even the mightiest creatures faced their own set of challenges and absurdities. Until next time, keep your sense of humor alive, for even in the harshest of circumstances, laughter is the best way to navigate life's wild ride. As we delve even further into the zany yet harsh life of our Tyrannosaurus Rex during the late Cretaceous, let's explore more of the laughable predicaments and trials our beloved dinosaur faced. While many might envision the T-Rex as a formidable beast striding across the landscape with grace and power, the reality was often much more comical and chaotic. Let's take a moment to revisit the T-Rex's notorious reputation for being a top predator. Sure, he had the size, the teeth, and the roar that could shatter eardrums, but the reality of hunting was a much different story. Picture the T-Rex, all pumped up for a day of hunting, strutting through the forest like he's the star of a prehistoric action movie. "All right, today's the day," he'd declare, his tone filled with bravado. "No more failed hunts. I'm going to catch the biggest hadrosaur out there and make a name for myself." As he stalks through the underbrush, every twig snaps underfoot like it's auditioning for a role in a slapstick comedy. "Stealth mode activated," he'd whisper. But let's be real. There's nothing stealthy about a creature that weighs nearly 9 tons and has a booming voice. As soon as he spots a herd of hadrosaurs, he crouches low, trying to blend in. "Just like they do in the movies," he mutters, though he's clearly sticking out like a sore thumb. But as he lunges forward, he miscalculates the distance. Instead of an elegant pounce, he ends up tripping over a bush, crashing to the ground with a resounding thud. "Oh no, not again!" He'd watch in horror as the hadrosaurs scatter, laughing as they fled. "What's wrong, T-Rex? Did you forget how to hunt?" one would shout back mockingly. "This is why you don't skip leg day." Defeated but not deterred, the T-Rex would get back to his feet, shaking off the embarrassment. "I swear, these herbivores are just lucky today," he'd grumble. "Tomorrow I'll definitely catch one. I'll just have to, practice my stealth." But hunting wasn't the only aspect of T-Rex life filled with comedic challenges. Let's discuss the inevitable interactions with other creatures. Socializing was an adventure in itself. One day, as he wanders into a clearing, he spots a group of smaller carnivores, velociraptors to be exact. "Oh great, the feathered fiends," he mutters under his breath, remembering the last time they had teased him mercilessly. "Hey, T-Rex, want to join us for a game of tag?" one called out, bouncing excitedly. "You know, the game where you can't catch anyone?" The T-Rex, trying to maintain his dignity, scoffs. "Please, I'm too big for your little games." But as the raptors dart around him, nipping at his tail playfully, he can't help but feel a mix of irritation and amusement. "This is ridiculous," he barks, trying to shake them off. "I'm a T-Rex, not a plaything." Yet no matter how much he protested, the raptors continued their antics. "Come on, let's see if you can catch us," they taunted, zipping around him like buzzing flies. "You can't catch us. You're too slow." After a few more attempts to intimidate them, the T-Rex realizes he's fighting a losing battle. "You know what? Fine. I'll show you how slow I really am." He'd turn to lumber away, but in doing so, he trips over a rock and lands face first in a pile of leaves. This is just embarrassing. And then there were the rival T-Rexes. Ah, the joys of territorial disputes. Imagine 2 hefty T-Rexes encountering one another in the forest. "This is my territory," one would roar, puffing out his chest in a display of dominance. "Oh, really? I didn't see your name on it," the other would retort, equally as loud and brash. What would follow would be a series of exaggerated roars and posturing, both trying to assert their superiority. "You think you're tough?" one would shout. "I once ate a whole triceratops in one sitting." The other T-Rex would reply, "That's nothing. I'm the T-Rex that tripped over a rock while trying to impress a female." As the tension escalated, a strange phenomenon would occur. Instead of charging at one another, both would end up slipping in the mud, tumbling down a slope and landing in a heap of tangled limbs. "Great. Now we're both going to be the laughingstock of the entire forest," one would groan. Eventually, they'd both roll their eyes and burst into laughter. "Okay, truce. But you owe me a round of drinks after this." But life wasn't just about hunting, rivalries, and socializing. Let's talk about the joys and challenges of T-Rex parenting. When hatchlings came into the picture, the T-Rex quickly realized that he had taken on a whole new level of chaos. "All right, kids, time for your first lesson on hunting," he would declare, trying to sound authoritative. But instead of focusing, the hatchlings would be more interested in chasing each other around, tumbling over one another in a whirlwind of excitement. "Look at me. I can run faster than you," one would shout, only to trip over a twig and roll into a bush. "Dad, help! I'm stuck!" The T-Rex would stand there, face-palming. "Why do I have to teach you everything? You're supposed to be learning how to be fearsome predators, not how to get stuck in bushes." And when it came time for family meals, oh boy, Picture the T-Rex bringing home a sizable hadrosaur, proud as a peacock. Dinner is served, everyone. But as soon as he set it down, the hatchlings would pounce on it like it was a toy, wrestling each other for the biggest piece. No, I want the leg. You had the last leg. Kids, this is a meal, not a wrestling match, he'd shout, trying to regain control of the situation. I brought this home for you to eat, not to turn it into a circus act. But the chaos would continue, and he'd find himself shaking his head, wondering how he ended up in this whirlwind of tiny teeth and rambunctious energy. And let's not ignore the environmental challenges that came with being a T-Rex. Weather in the late Cretaceous could be unpredictable. One moment, he'd be basking in the sun, and the next, a torrential downpour would hit. Fantastic! Just what I needed, he'd groan, flailing his arms dramatically as the rain soaked him to the bone. I'm a king, not a soggy dinosaur. When the rains finally stopped, the landscape would transform into a muddy swamp. Great, now I'm stuck in a quagmire, he'd complain, trying to maneuver through the muck. This is not how I envisioned my day. I'm supposed to be the apex predator, not the king of the mud. And let's not forget the seasonal challenges. During the dry season, food could become scarce. Imagine our T-Rex prowling around, searching for something to eat. Come on, where are all the herbivores? He'd mutter, growing increasingly frustrated. I can't be the only one out here starving. Then, just as he thought he'd have to resort to eating grass, something he would never admit to in public, he'd catch a whiff of a hadrosaur nearby. Finally, he'd roar, rushing toward the scent, only to find it was just a bunch of hungry pterosaurs squawking over a fallen piece of fruit. Really? You guys are fighting over a fruit? This is just embarrassing. And then there were the misadventures with the local flora. Imagine our T-Rex trying to reach for some low-hanging fruit. How hard can it be? He'd ask, stretching his neck awkwardly, his tiny arms flailing. I'm a T-Rex, not a giraffe. Why can't I just reach it? But inevitably, he'd end up knocking over a tree or two, creating a loud crash that would send all the nearby creatures into a panic. Great. Now I'm the reason for the great tree disaster of the Cretaceous. He'd lament, watching as the herbivores fled in fear. I just wanted a snack. As the sun began to set, signaling the end of another chaotic day, our T-Rex would return to his cave, weary but amused. You know what? This is harder than I thought, he'd sigh, plopping down to rest. Being a T-Rex is supposed to be glorious, but all I do is trip over my own feet, get caught in mud, and get laughed at by smaller dinosaurs. Is this really what it means to be king? And as he drifted off to sleep, he'd dream of a simpler time when life was less complicated, maybe a time when he could just lounge and bask in the sun without a care in the world. But alas, as a T-Rex, those days seemed far away. So, dear listeners, as we wrap up this hilarious and harsh exploration of T-Rex life during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the fiercest of predators faced their own set of challenges and absurdities. Whether it was the trials of hunting, the chaos of parenting, or the unpredictability of the environment, life as a T-Rex was an adventure filled with laughter, struggles, and the occasional slip-up. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges, and remember that even in the harshest of circumstances, laughter is the best way to navigate life's wild ride. As we plunge back into the tumultuous life of the Tyrannosaurus rex during the late Cretaceous, let's explore even more of the comically harsh realities this colossal creature faced. Life as a T-Rex was certainly no leisurely stroll through the park. It was a chaotic blend of hunting, socializing, and navigating the unpredictable twists of prehistoric existence. Let's kick things off with the everyday struggle of finding food. You'd think that being a large predator would make meals easy to come by, but for our T-Rex, it was more like an Olympic sport. Picture him waking up one sunny morning, stomach grumbling loudly. All right, time to hunt, he declares, puffing out his chest as if he's about to participate in a grand competition. Today, I will catch the biggest hadrosaur. As he ambles through the dense forest, he adopts a stealthy stance, trying to channel his inner ninja. Stealth mode? Engaged, he whispers. But with those massive legs and a tail that seems to have a mind of its own, he's more like a lumbering giant trying to tiptoe through a china shop. As he nears a herd of unsuspecting hadrosaurs, he crouches low, determined to make the perfect pounce. But just as he's about to leap, disaster strikes. He misjudges the distance and ends up tripping over his own feet, crashing into a bush. "Why does this always happen to me?" he groans, watching in disbelief as the hadrosaurs bolt away, leaving him with nothing but a mouthful of leaves. Great, now I'm just a T-Rex with a salad. Frustrated, he shakes off the embarrassment and decides to track the herd. "I'll get you next time," he yells after them. But the hadrosaurs are already long gone, and he's left to contemplate his life choices. Why can't I ever catch a break? I'm the king of the dinosaurs. After a series of failed hunts, our T-Rex decides to take a break and head to his favorite watering hole. But once again, life throws him a curveball. As he approaches the water, he spots a group of small, nimble raptors. "Oh no, not these guys again," he mutters, already anticipating the teasing that's about to ensue. "Hey, T-Rex, what's up? Planning on catching a drink or just going to drown?" One of the raptors calls out, a mischievous glint in his eye. The T-Rex rolls his eyes. "I'm just trying to hydrate, thanks." As he leans down to take a sip, he miscalculates the angle and ends up splashing water all over himself. "Ugh, this is not how I pictured my day." The raptors burst into laughter. "Look at him, the mighty T-Rex, defeated by a puddle." The T-Rex straightens up, trying to shake off the embarrassment. "You think this is funny? Just wait until I catch something bigger than you." But the raptors aren't intimidated. "Yeah, right. You can barely catch a nap without tripping over your tail." They continue to taunt him, and he can't help but feel a mix of irritation and amusement. "I swear, one of these days I'll show you who the real king is," he promises, but deep down, he knows he's fighting an uphill battle against these feisty little dinosaurs. As the day wears on, our T-Rex decides it's time to practice his hunting skills again. This time, he's determined to catch something. Anything. He ventures deeper into his territory, hoping to find a lone herbivore. "Today's the day," he declares to himself, full of optimism. "I can do this." But as he prowls through the underbrush, he encounters yet another challenge. The terrain is uneven, and he quickly finds himself in a patch of thick mud. "Oh no, not again," he exclaims as he sinks into the muck. Why does everything have to be so complicated? With sheer determination, he manages to pull himself out, but not without leaving behind a few bits of his dignity in the process. "I'm a T-Rex. I shouldn't be stuck in mud like this," he grumbles, shaking off the mud and trying to regain his composure. But just as he thinks he's ready to continue his hunt, he hears a rustling nearby. Finally! Maybe this is my lucky break, he thinks excitedly, peering into the bushes. However, what he finds is a group of young ankylosaurs, munching on leaves. "Oh, come on! I can't even catch a break with the food situation." In a fit of frustration, he lets out a roar, one that sounds more like a disgruntled cat than the mighty king he aspires to be. The ankylosaurs look up, startled, and one pipes up. "Is that a T-Rex? I thought they were supposed to be scary." They giggle and run off, leaving the T-Rex feeling even more deflated. "Great! Now I'm just a laughingstock." Determined to turn things around, our T-Rex decides to head back to the watering hole to regroup. But of course, fate has other plans. As he approaches the water's edge, he slips on the wet ground, landing with a loud splat. "Why can't I just have one day where I don't end up in the mud?" he groans, spluttering. Just then, a nearby group of herbivores turns to watch the spectacle unfold. "Hey, look! It's the T-Rex mudslide show! Get the popcorn!" one of them shouts, and they all burst into laughter. "This is the third time this week. You should really consider a new hobby." Mortified, the T-Rex rises, shaking off the mud once more. "I'm done with this. I'm the king of the dinosaurs, not the king of the mud," he bellows, though he can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. But as the sun begins to set, the T-Rex decides that perhaps he needs to embrace his situation. "You know what? I may not be the most graceful dinosaur, but at least I'm entertaining," he muses, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. "If I can't be feared, I might as well be the life of the party." And that's when he hears a commotion nearby. Curiosity piqued, he heads over to see a group of young dinosaurs playing a game. What are they up to, he wonders. As he approaches, he realizes they're playing a game of tag, and the raptors are leading the charge. "Hey, T-Rex, want to join?" one of them calls out, grinning. "Join? You do realize I'm not built for that, right? He replies, trying to maintain his dignity. But the raptors insist. Come on, show us what you've got. Reluctantly, he joins in, and to his surprise, he finds himself having fun. All right, let's do this, he bellows, charging after the raptors, who dart around him like lightning bolts. While he may not be the fastest, his size gives him an advantage. You can't escape me that easily, he roars, and although it doesn't catch anyone, the laughter is infectious. And so, our T-Rex finds himself in a whirlwind of laughter and chaos, running around with the younger dinosaurs, feeling free. This isn't half bad, he thinks, realizing that maybe he doesn't have to be the fearsome predator all the time. I can just be T-Rex, the fun guy. As the sun sets, he finally returns to his cave, exhausted but content. You know what? I may not have caught a meal today, but I sure had a blast, he reflects, curling up in his cozy spot. Maybe next time I'll catch something, but for now, I'll take the laughs. And as he closes his eyes to drift off into a peaceful sleep, he dreams of the next day, ready to tackle whatever absurdity life has in store for him. Tomorrow, I'll try again, he murmurs, but maybe this time, I'll bring a friend along. So, dear listeners, as we continue this hilarious exploration of life as a T-Rex during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the mightiest predators have their days filled with laughter, embarrassment, and the occasional slip-up. Life may be harsh, but it can also be unexpectedly delightful. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace your own challenges with a sense of humor. And remember, no matter how fierce you are, a little laughter goes a long way. As we plunge back into the chaotic yet comical world of our not-so-mighty Tyrannosaurus rex during the late Cretaceous, let's take a deeper look at the hilariously harsh realities of his daily life. You'd think being the apex predator would be a walk in the park, but for our T-Rex, it was more like a clumsy jaunt through a jungle filled with tripwires and banana peels. So, let's fast forward to another day in the life of our T-Rex. He wakes up groggy, rubbing his massive head as he tries to shake off the remnants of a fitful night's sleep filled with dreams of hunting victories that never quite materialized. All right, today is the day, he declares to himself, trying to muster up some enthusiasm. Today I will catch something. I will not be a laughingstock. With a determined huff, he saunters out of his cave, stretching his enormous limbs and yawning widely. Why do I always wake up with a crick in my neck? He grumbles. You'd think with a head this big, I'd have better support. As he ventures into the forest, he spots a herd of hadrosaurs grazing peacefully. Perfect. Just what I need, he thinks, rubbing his tiny arms together in excitement. Time to put my hunting skills to the test. He crouches low, trying to channel all the stealth he can muster. Stealth mode activated. He whispers, even though the sound of his own voice echoes through the trees. With bated breath, he prepares for the perfect ambush. But just as he's about to pounce, something catches his eye, a butterfly flitting by. Ooh, what's that? He muses, momentarily distracted. In that split second, the hadrosaurs spot him and bolt away, leaving him staring after them, bewildered. Wait, come back, I was just about to. But it's too late. They're gone, and he's left standing there, bat feeling like a fool. How did I lose them to a butterfly? He laments, kicking a rock in frustration. Determined to shake off the embarrassment, our T-Rex decides to try a different tactic. He's heard rumors about a particularly slow hadrosaur that lingers near the riverbank. I'll just find that one, he thinks, his confidence slowly returning. He sets off toward the river, envisioning a glorious feast. However, the journey isn't without its challenges. As he walks, he encounters a patch of slippery mud that seems to have appeared overnight. Not again, he exclaims, but it's too late. He steps right into the muck, and before he knows it, he's stuck. This is just great. I'm a T-Rex, and I can't even walk through my own territory. With every attempt to extricate himself, he only sinks deeper. How did I end up as the king of the mud pit? He groans, watching the other dinosaurs pass by, shaking their heads in disbelief. Hey, T-Rex, looking for a spa day? One taunts, and the laughter echoes in his ears. Oh, the indignity. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, he manages to pull himself free, but not without leaving behind a chunk of his dignity, and a fair amount of mud. I'm never going to live this down, he mutters, shaking off the remnants of his muddy adventure. As he finally approaches the riverbank, he spots the slow hadrosaur lounging by the water. There you are, he thinks, excitement bubbling within him. This is going to be my moment of glory. But as he prepares to charge, he hears a rustling behind him. What now? He grumbles, turning to see a group of curious pterosaurs flying overhead. Hey, T-Rex! What's the plan? Going for a swim, one shouts, and they all burst into laughter. You're not going to catch a meal by floating around like a giant rock. Very funny. You try catching a hadrosaur while dealing with mud and flying pests, he snaps back, but the pterosaurs are already swooping away, leaving him feeling even more frustrated. I can't catch a break. With a deep breath, our T-Rex steels himself and charges at the hadrosaur. This is it. I'm going to prove them all wrong. But just as he lunges forward, the hadrosaur turns and bolts away, leaving him face first in the dirt. Why does this keep happening? He yells, watching in despair as his meal escapes yet again. I'm just trying to eat here. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, our T-Rex decides to take a break from the relentless cycle of failure. He makes his way to a shady spot under a large tree, flopping down with an annoyed huff. Maybe I just need to relax for a bit, he mumbles, closing his eyes. How hard can it be to catch one measly herbivore? But no sooner has he settled down than he hears a loud crash nearby. Startled, he jumps up to see two ankylosaurs having a tussle over a fallen tree branch. What are you two doing? He shouts, trying to regain his composure. You're making more noise than a herd of triceratops. Oh, look! It's the T-Rex. You here to join the fight? One of them calls out, chuckling. Or are you just going to trip over your own feet again? Ha ha! Very funny, he replies sarcastically. I'm just trying to enjoy the peace. If you two would stop acting like children. As the ankylosaurs continue their playful bickering, our T-Rex can't help but feel a bit envious. Why do they get to have all the fun? I'm the king. I should be the one having wild adventures, not stuck in a mud pit or trying to chase butterflies. With a sigh, he finally decides to join in on the fun. All right, I'll show you how it's done, he declares, charging at them playfully. But as he does, he misjudges his footing once again and ends up crashing into a nearby bush. Why must I always end up in the bushes? He groans, trying to extricate himself from the foliage. The ankylosaurs burst into laughter, and suddenly, our T-Rex finds himself laughing too. You two are ridiculous, he admits, shaking off the leaves. I may be the king, but you've got the moves. And so the three of them engage in a playful mock battle, the T-Rex trying to assert his dominance while also slipping and sliding in the mud. It's not the grand hunt he envisioned, but it's a welcome escape from the pressure of being the king. Maybe there's more to life than just hunting, he muses, chuckling to himself. As the day drags on, the T-Rex finally decides to head back home, feeling a sense of camaraderie he hadn't anticipated. You know, maybe I don't need to be the fiercest predator all the time. I can just be me, he thinks, a smile spreading across his face. But as he makes his way back, he realizes he still needs to eat. All right, time to find something before I head home, he mutters, determination returning to his voice. I can't go to bed hungry. In his search, he stumbles upon a small group of herbivores grazing in a clearing. This is it, my last chance, he declares, crouching low once again. But as he prepares to pounce, he hears a loud rumble in the distance. What now? He wonders, glancing around. Just then, a massive herd of sauropods stampedes through the area, shaking the ground beneath him. Wow! Easy there, he shouts, trying to avoid being trampled. I'm not on the menu. The herbivores scatter in panic, and in the chaos, our T-Rex can't help but feel a mix of awe and frustration. Seriously! I'm trying to hunt here, he laments, watching as the sauropods thunder past, leaving only dust in their wake. Finally, when the dust settles and the chaos subsides, he looks around and sees that the herbivores are long gone. Great. Just great, he groans, realizing he's been thwarted once again. What does a T-Rex have to do to get a meal around here? As he trudges back towards his cave, he takes a moment to reflect. Maybe life isn't just about being the biggest and the baddest. Maybe it's about finding joy in the little things, even if those little things involve crashing into bushes and getting muddy. As twilight descends over the landscape, our T-Rex returns home, exhausted but with a newfound perspective. Tomorrow is a new day, he tells himself, curling up in his cave. Who knows what adventures await? Maybe I'll befriend a few more dinosaurs, or finally catch that hadrosaur. And as he drifts off to sleep, he dreams of a world where he's not just a predator, but a friend, a companion, and maybe even a bit of a comedian. Tomorrow, I'll try to enjoy the hunt, the laughter, and everything in between, he murmurs, a smile on his face. So, dear listeners, as we continue this humorous exploration of life as a T-Rex during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the fiercest of creatures face their own quirks and challenges. Life may be harsh, but with a little laughter and friendship, it can also be quite rewarding. Thank you for joining me on this entertaining journey through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges. And remember, no matter how fierce you are, a little laughter goes a long way. As we continue to unveil the riotous and tough life of our beloved Tyrannosaurus rex during the late Cretaceous, prepare yourself for more tales of clumsiness, chaos, and the never-ending pursuit of a decent meal. Life as a T-Rex wasn't just about roaring and hunting. It was a comedy of errors filled with humorous mishaps and the harsh realities of being the biggest predator on the block. Let's take a moment to explore the social life of our T-Rex. You'd think that being the king of the dinosaurs would make him the most popular dino on the block, but in reality, socializing was a precarious endeavor. Imagine our T-Rex trying to join a gathering of carnivores. "Hey everyone, it's me, the mighty T-Rex," he booms, trying to sound as intimidating as possible. But instead of awe, he's met with a chorus of giggles. "Oh look, it's Mr. Tiny Arms," one snickers. "What's he going to do? Give us a hug." The T-Rex tries to ignore the jabs, but it's hard to maintain his pride when he's constantly the butt of the jokes. "Ha ha ha, very funny," he responds, rolling his eyes. "Just wait until I catch something bigger than your last meal." But the ribbing doesn't stop. "Yeah, right. You'd trip over your own feet before you catch anything." Feeling dejected, our T-Rex wanders off to find a quieter spot, wondering if he should just start a support group for misunderstood predators. "Hello, my name is T-Rex, and I have tiny arms," he might say, only to be met with laughter from the crowd. "Just because I can't scratch my back doesn't mean I can't eat you." But as the day goes on, he realizes that perhaps he needs to embrace the humor in his situation. "You know what? Maybe I should just lean into it," he muses. "I could be the funny T-Rex instead of the fearsome one." With renewed determination, he decides to put on a show. "All right, everyone, watch this," he declares, attempting to demonstrate his hunting prowess. He crouches low, eyeing a nearby bush, and then charges forward with all his might. But as he leaps, he miscalculates and ends up tumbling headfirst into a pile of ferns. "Oops, not quite the landing I was going for." The other dinosaurs erupt in laughter. "Look at him, the mighty T-Rex, brought down by ferns." Instead of feeling embarrassed, he starts laughing too. All right, you got me, but just wait until I catch something, then you'll see who's laughing." As the sun begins to set, our T-Rex decides to try his luck with hunting once again. "If I can't impress them with my social skills, I'll impress them with my hunting skills," he declares, stomping off into the forest, determination in his heart. But as he wanders deeper into the woods, he stumbles upon a peculiar sight, a group of young ceratopsians playing a game of tag. What are they up to, he wonders, watching the little ones darting around, their horns bouncing. They look like they're having fun. Feeling a twinge of nostalgia, he decides to join them. "Hey kids, mind if I play?" he calls out, trying to sound friendly. The young ceratopsians eye him warily. Do you even know how to play?" one asks, a hint of skepticism in their voice. "Of course, I'm a T-Rex. I can do anything," he boasts, puffing out his chest. But as they start the game, he quickly realizes that running and leaping are not his strong suits. Every time he tries to tag one of the little ones, he ends up tripping over his own feet or getting tangled in the underbrush. "Why is this so hard?" he gasps, panting. "I'm supposed to be the fastest." The young ceratopsians giggle as he stumbles and flails. "Come on, T-Rex. You can do better than that," one taunts, and he can't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. All right, I'll show you how it's done," he declares. But he knows he's fighting an uphill battle. After a few more hilarious attempts at tagging the youngsters, the T-Rex finally concedes defeat. "Okay, fine, you win. I'm not cut out for this," he laughs, shaking his head. But I do have some great stories about hunting, if you want to hear them. As the sun sets, he realizes that maybe he doesn't have to be the fierce predator all the time. I can just be me, he thinks, a smile spreading across his face. And sometimes, being funny is just as good as being powerful. But as he heads back toward his cave, the reality of his hunger sets in again. All right, time to find a meal, he mutters, feeling the pangs of hunger. He decides to return to the area where he saw the hadrosaurs earlier. This time, I'll be more careful. As he approaches the clearing, he spots a lone hadrosaur grazing peacefully. This is it. My moment has arrived, he announces, crouching low once more. But just as he's about to charge, he hears a rustling in the bushes. What now? He grumbles, turning to see a familiar group of raptors watching him with amusement. Hey, T-Rex, planning to catch something? Or just practicing your bush diving skills? One of them teases. I swear, you're like a walking comedy show. Frustrated but determined, our T-Rex tries to ignore their taunts. I'm going to catch this hadrosaur, and then you'll see who's the king, he growls, focusing all his energy on the task at hand. With a deep breath, he charges at the hadrosaur, trying to channel all his might into this one perfect move. But just as he lunges, he miscalculates again, slipping on a patch of mud and landing with a spectacular crash right at the feet of the hadrosaur. No, not again. Why do I keep doing this? He exclaims, watching in despair as the hadrosaur bolts away. The raptors burst into laughter once more. At this point, you should just change your name to T-Rex, the mud monster. One shouts, and the others join in the chorus. Maybe you should start a mud wrestling league instead. Defeated, the T-Rex rises, shaking off the mud and trying to regain his composure. I'm done with this. I'm supposed to be terrifying, not a laughingstock, he grumbles, turning to head back home. As he walks, he can't shake the feeling of embarrassment. Why is everything so hard? He wonders aloud. All I want is a decent meal and a little respect. But as he trudges back toward his cave, he begins to realize something. Maybe I can embrace the humor in all of this, he thinks. I may not be the best hunter, but at least I can bring laughter to others. That night, as he curls up in his cave, he decides to reflect on his day. Today was tough, but it was also a lot of fun, he admits to himself. I may not have caught anything, but I made some great memories. And just as he's about to doze off, a thought strikes him. Maybe I should organize a game for all the dinosaurs. Something fun where we can all get together and laugh. With newfound excitement, he drifts off to sleep, dreaming of a grand event where everyone can join in on the fun. The next morning, our T-Rex wakes up with a sense of purpose. All right, time to start planning the biggest event this forest has ever seen, he announces, determination in his voice. I'll call it the Great Dino Games. He spends the day gathering supplies and inviting all the dinosaurs he can find. Come one, come all. Join me for the Great Dino Games. There will be fun, laughter, and, of course, a chance to see me in action, he declares, trying to sound as grand as possible. As the day of the event approaches, excitement buzzes through the air. Dinosaurs from all over gather to participate in various games and challenges. This is going to be epic, he thinks, envisioning the laughter and camaraderie that await. When the day finally arrives, the T-Rex stands proudly at the center of the clearing, ready to kick off the festivities. Welcome, everyone, to the Great Dino Games, he roars, his voice echoing through the trees. Get ready for a day filled with fun and laughter. The first event is a race, and while he may not be the fastest, he puts on a good show, stumbling and tripping, but laughing all the way. I may not win, but I'm here to have fun, he declares, and the crowd cheers him on. Next up is a mud wrestling contest, perfect for the T-Rex. Finally, something I excel at, he grins, diving into the mud with enthusiasm. As he wrestles with the younger dinosaurs, everyone bursts into laughter. Look at him go, the king of mud wrestling. The day continues with games, laughter, and a sense of community that warms the T-Rex's heart. This is what it's all about, he thinks, feeling a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced before. I may not be the mightiest hunter, but I can bring joy to others. As the sun sets, the T-Rex gathers everyone around for a final celebration. Thank you all for joining me today. You've made this the best day ever, he declares, his heart swelling with happiness. Let's do this again soon. And as the stars twinkle overhead, the T-Rex realizes that life, while filled with challenges and harsh realities, can also be beautiful and full of joy. Maybe I'll never be the best hunter, but I'll always be the best at bringing laughter to my friends, he thinks, falling into a peaceful sleep, surrounded by the warmth of friendship and camaraderie. So, dear listeners, as we reflect on this hilariously chaotic journey through the life of a Tyrannosaurus rex during the late Cretaceous, remember that even the mightiest of creatures have their ups and downs. Whether it's stumbling in the mud or learning to embrace laughter, life is a wild ride filled with unexpected twists. Thank you for joining me on this uproarious adventure. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges. And remember, laughter is the best way to navigate the harshness of existence. As our T-Rex wakes up from his dream-filled slumber, the memories of the great dino games still linger in his mind. "I can't believe we actually pulled that off," he exclaims, shaking off the remnants of sleep. "Today, I'm going to bask in the glory of my new role as the entertainer of the Cretaceous." But no sooner has he stepped out of his cave than reality strikes again. His stomach growls ominously. "Ah, yes, the eternal quest for food. What a glorious way to start the day," he groans, rubbing his belly. "I can't be the king of the dinosaurs on an empty stomach." Determined to change his luck, the T-Rex sets off once again into the wild, hoping to find a meal worthy of his royal stature. Today is the day, trying to summon his courage and confidence. "I will find something to eat, and I won't trip over my own feet." As he trudges through the forest, he mentally prepares himself for the hunt. Remember, it's all about stealth, he reminds himself, crouching low behind a bush, just like a cat. But as he tries to creep forward, he accidentally steps on a twig, producing a loud snap. Great, so much for stealth mode. All the nearby herbivores freeze, and the T-Rex can see fear in their eyes. "No, wait, I'm not here to eat you," he shouts, but they don't stick around to hear his excuse. They scatter in every direction, leaving him alone and frustrated. "I'm the king of the dinosaurs. Why can't I catch a break?" With a huff, he resumes his trek, growling in annoyance. "Maybe I should just start a vegetable garden instead. It would be a lot less stressful than hunting." He imagines himself tending to rows of leafy greens, wearing a sun hat, and chatting with the local wildlife. "Hey everyone, welcome to T-Rex's Veggie Paradise." But hunting is still what he's built for, and he's determined to stick with it. He wanders deeper into the forest, his mind buzzing with thoughts of hadrosaurs and triceratops. Maybe I'll find that slow one again. Or better yet, maybe I'll catch a raptor. After a while, he stumbles upon a clearing filled with a herd of hadrosaurs. "Finally," he exclaims, crouching low behind a bush. "This is my moment of glory." He steadies himself, preparing for the charge. "All right, T-Rex, this is it. Just like last time, except no mud this time." With a burst of adrenaline, he leaps forward, only to trip over a rock, sending him tumbling into the bushes yet again. "Why does this keep happening?" he bellows, watching in frustration as the hadrosaurs bolt away, their laughter echoing in his ears. "Hey, T-Rex, maybe you should try yoga instead of hunting," one of the hadrosaurs calls back, and the others snicker as they disappear into the distance. "I swear, I'm going to eat one of you someday," he grumbles to himself, feeling more frustrated than ever. Determined not to let this latest failure get him down, he decides to take a break and find a shady spot to cool off. "Maybe I just need to clear my head," he muses, plopping down beneath a giant tree. "I could use a little relaxation after all that tumbling." As he sits, a small group of pterosaurs flies overhead, squawking loudly. "Look at T-Rex, taking a break? Or just taking a nap?" one of them taunts. "Hey, I'm not napping. I'm just contemplating my life choices," he shouts back, feeling a bit embarrassed. The pterosaurs chuckle as they circle overhead, clearly enjoying the show. "You know, T-Rex, it's never too late to switch careers. Ever thought about becoming a comedian?" "Very funny," he replies, rolling his eyes. "Maybe I should just start telling jokes instead of hunting." With that thought, he leans back against the tree and starts brainstorming. "Okay, let's see. What do you call a T-Rex who can't catch anything?" he begins, chuckling to himself. "A T-Rex hosted." He laughs at his own joke, and to his surprise, a passing herd of smaller dinosaurs stops to listen. "What's the big guy up to?" one of them whispers, intrigued by the sight of the mighty predator attempting stand-up comedy. All right. What do you call a T-Rex who gets stuck in mud? He continues, buoyed by their attention. A T-Rex tracted. The small crowd erupts in laughter, and for a moment, the T-Rex feels a rush of pride. Maybe I'm onto something here. But suddenly, a loud crash interrupts his performance. What now? He grumbles, turning to see a group of ankylosaurs fighting over a fallen tree branch. Can't you see I'm trying to entertain? Hey, T-Rex, want to join us? One of them offers, swinging the branch playfully. We need a referee. Referee? I'm not here to referee. I'm trying to be funny, he retorts, but the ankylosaurs insist. Come on, you can be the judge of who wins. With a sigh, our T-Rex finally relents. Fine, but I'm going to be the best referee this forest has ever seen. As he steps into the role, he starts announcing the match. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great Ankylosaur Showdown. In this corner, we have the mighty Bumpy, and in the other corner, we have Spiky. The crowd of dinosaurs gathers around, eager to watch the antics unfold. The ankylosaurs start playfully butting heads, and the T-Rex can't help but laugh as they tumble over each other in a flurry of limbs and tails. Look at them go! This is way more entertaining than hunting. As the match continues, he gets more and more into it, cheering them on and playfully teasing them. Come on, Spiky, you call that a hit? My grandma could do better. The crowd roars with laughter, and our T-Rex feels a sense of joy he hasn't experienced in a long time. Maybe I've found my calling after all, he thinks, reveling in the camaraderie and fun. But as the sun begins to set, a familiar pang of hunger hits him again. All right, time to get back to the serious business of hunting, he tells himself, a hint of determination returning. I can't let my new fans down. With renewed vigor, he sets off once more, determined to find a meal before the day ends. I'll show them that I'm not just a funny dino. I can be a fearsome predator, too. As he prowls through the forest, he hears a rustling sound. What's that? He wonders, peeking through the bushes to see a lone hadrosaur grazing nearby. This is it. Finally, a chance to prove myself. He crouches low, focusing all his energy on this one moment. Stealth mode engaged, he whispers, trying to channel all his inner predator. But as he prepares to pounce, he hears a loud snap behind him. What now? He exclaims, turning to see a branch that he accidentally broke. The hadrosaur looks up, startled. Is that a T-Rex? I thought they were supposed to be stealthy, it exclaims before bolting away, leaving our T-Rex standing there in frustration. No, not again, he groans, watching the opportunity slip away yet again. Why does it always have to be like this? He laments, kicking the ground in exasperation. I'm trying to be the king here. But as he trudges away, he hears a small voice call out. Hey, T-Rex! Why don't you just accept that you're more fun to be around than to be afraid of? It's one of the young ceratopsians from the Great Dino games. You're way better at making us laugh than scaring us. The T-Rex pauses, considering the words. Maybe I should just embrace my role as the funny guy, he thinks, a smile creeping onto his face. I may not be the best hunter, but I can be a great entertainer. With that realization, he decides to take a different approach to his life. All right, I'll find a way to feed myself without having to hunt all the time. Maybe I can start a comedy show. And so, instead of continuing his futile hunt, he heads back to the clearing where the ankylosaurs are still playfully tussling. Everyone, I've got an idea, he calls out, his voice booming through the trees. What if we put on a show? A comedy night for all the dinosaurs? The ankylosaurs pause, intrigued. A comedy night? That sounds fun, one exclaims. Count us in. Excitedly, the T-Rex starts planning. We'll have games, performances, and of course, a stand-up comedy act featuring yours truly. It'll be the biggest event this forest has ever seen. As they gather more dinosaurs to participate, the T-Rex feels a sense of excitement building within him. This is it. This is my calling, he thinks, envisioning the laughter and joy that will fill the air. And just like that, life as a T-Rex takes a delightful turn. Instead of being the fierce predator, he becomes the beloved entertainer of the Cretaceous, bringing laughter to all the dinosaurs around him. So, dear listeners, as we continue to explore the life of our Tyrannosaurus Rex, remember that sometimes embracing the humor in our struggles can lead to unexpected joys. Life may be filled with challenges, but with a little laughter, we can navigate the harshest realities with a smile. Thank you for joining me on this hilarious journey through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, keep your spirits high, embrace your quirks, and remember, laughter is the best way to conquer life's difficulties. As our Tyrannosaurus Rex embraces his new identity as the comedian of the Cretaceous, the anticipation for the upcoming comedy night builds. All right, let's do this, he declares, bounding out of his cave with a renewed sense of purpose. I'll show everyone that I'm not just a predator, I'm a performer. The preparations for the comedy night begin in earnest. The T-Rex gathers supplies, including makeshift props, fallen branches for microphones, rocks for seating, and plenty of mud for a stage. Who needs fancy decorations when you've got nature? He chuckles to himself, envisioning the setup. This is going to be the biggest event this forest has ever seen. As he scours the area, he encounters a group of curious young dinosaurs. Hey, T-Rex, what's going on? One asks, eyeing the materials he's collecting. I'm putting together a comedy night. You all should come, he announces, puffing out his chest proudly. It's going to be epic. The young dinosaurs exchange excited glances. Can we help? One asks eagerly. We want to be part of the show. Absolutely. The more the merrier, he replies, thrilled at the prospect of getting everyone involved. They set to work, gathering more materials and brainstorming ideas for acts. As they work, the T-Rex shares some of his favorite jokes. Okay, here's a classic. What do you call a T-Rex who can't stop telling jokes? A dinosaur. The young dinosaurs giggle, their laughter echoing through the forest. Do another one, they plead, and he can't help but beam at their enthusiasm. What do you call a T-Rex with a bad attitude? A T-Rex with a tude. The young dinosaurs roll with laughter, and for the first time in a while, our T-Rex feels truly appreciated. Maybe this is what I was meant to do all along, he thinks, reveling in the camaraderie and joy. As the day of the comedy night approaches, word spreads throughout the forest. Dinosaurs from far and wide begin to gather, intrigued by the prospect of a show. A comedy night hosted by T-Rex? This I've got to see! One Triceratops huffs, shaking his head in disbelief. The big night finally arrives, and the clearing is filled with a mix of excitement and chatter. Dinosaurs of all shapes and sizes gather around, taking their seats on the rocks and logs that have been arranged for the audience. The T-Rex stands at the front, nervously adjusting his makeshift microphone, a sturdy stick he found earlier. Welcome, everyone, to the first ever Great Dino Comedy Night, he announces, his voice booming with enthusiasm. I'm your host, the one and only T-Rex. Prepare yourselves for a night of laughter, fun, and maybe a few bad puns. The crowd erupts in cheers, and he can feel the energy buzzing in the air. Tonight, we'll have games, performances, and, of course, my stand-up routine. He begins with a few jokes, trying to ease into the performance. So what's the difference between a T-Rex and a chicken? The chicken is still alive after a bad meal. The audience bursts into laughter, and he feels a rush of exhilaration. Yes, this is going well. As he continues, he begins to relax, delivering punchline after punchline. You know, I once tried to play hide and seek with a group of raptors, but every time I tried to hide, I just ended up knocking over a tree. I guess I'm not the best at blending in. More laughter fills the air, and he starts to feel like a true star. But seriously, folks, what do you call a T-Rex who gets lost? A lost-saurus! His jokes land perfectly, and the crowd is eating it up. The T-Rex can't help but feel a sense of pride. This is what it's all about. I may not be the best hunter, but I can make these dinosaurs laugh. But just as he's riding high on the wave of laughter, a loud crash interrupts the show. What now? He grumbles, turning to see one of the ankylosaurs has accidentally knocked over the rock seating. Watch where you're going. The ankylosaur sheepishly apologizes. Sorry, T-Rex. I just got a bit too excited. Excited? You just turned my audience into a pile of confused dinosaurs. He quips, shaking his head but unable to hide his amusement. All right, everyone, let's help our friend up and get back to the show. With the minor setback handled, he dives back into his routine, delivering more jokes and stories. So do you know what my favorite herbivore is? The one that's too fast to catch, because it means I get to keep my dignity. As the night goes on, he invites other dinosaurs to share their own jokes and stories. The stage becomes a hub of laughter, with everyone participating. Hey, let's hear from the ankylosaurs, he calls out, motioning for them to join. One of them steps up, looking nervous but determined. Okay, here goes. What do you call an ankylosaurus who drops its food? A dino snack. The crowd erupts into laughter, and the T-Rex can feel the joy radiating from everyone. See? You've got this. Keep it going. He encourages, clapping his massive hands. The night continues with various performances, games, and even a talent showcase. A group of raptors shows off their acrobatics, flipping and diving through the air. All right, you guys are obviously better at this than I am. The T-Rex laughs, genuinely impressed. But as the festivities roll on, the T-Rex suddenly feels an unexpected rumble in his stomach. Oh no, not now, he thinks, realizing that he hasn't eaten all day. I can't be the king of comedy on an empty stomach. Trying to ignore the growling, he pushes through, delivering more jokes and keeping the audience entertained. What do you call a T-Rex who can't stop cracking jokes? A ponderful creature. But the rumbling continues, louder this time, and he can't help but wince. All right, folks, can we take a quick intermission? I need to, recharge. The crowd laughs, fully aware of what he's hinting at. Go get your snack, T-Rex. We'll be here when you get back, they shout, still giggling. Relieved, he rushes off into the forest, hoping to find something, anything to eat. Why did I not think about this before, he mutters as he scours the area for any sign of prey. I can't perform on an empty stomach. After a few minutes of searching, he finally spots a small herd of hadrosaurs grazing peacefully nearby. This is it. My chance for a meal, he thinks, crouching low once again. With adrenaline pumping, he prepares for the charge. All right, T-Rex, this is your moment, he whispers, focusing all his energy. But as he takes off, he slips on a patch of mud yet again, tumbling forward and landing in a heap. Why can't I ever have a normal day? The hadrosaurs look up, startled, and quickly scatter once more. Not again, he groans, watching them flee. I'm starting to think I'm more of a circus act than a predator. Feeling defeated, he trudges back to the comedy night, empty-handed. I can't believe I couldn't catch a single thing, he laments, feeling a mix of frustration and hunger. But as he returns to the clearing, he's greeted by cheers and laughter. Welcome back, T-Rex. Did you bring us a snack? One of the young dinosaurs teases. Yeah, I'd like a T-Rex burger, please. Another jokes, and the crowd erupts into laughter. With a sigh, he shakes his head, trying to hide his disappointment. All right, let's get back to the show, he calls out, determined to finish the night on a high note. As he steps up to the stage, he raises his stick microphone. All right, who's ready for more jokes? Because I've got plenty. The crowd cheers, and he dives back into his routine. What do you call a T-Rex who can't catch a meal? A hungry dino. Laughter fills the air, and with each joke, he begins to forget about his hunger. You know, being the king of the dinosaurs isn't so bad when you can make everyone laugh. As the night winds down, he realizes that even in the face of challenges, whether it's a failed hunt, slipping in the mud, or dealing with playful raptors, there's always room for laughter. I may not catch my dinner, but I can certainly catch a few laughs. And as the stars twinkle overhead, our T-Rex reflects on the joy of community and connection. Maybe I'm not just a predator. Maybe I'm a friend to all. So, dear listeners, as we continue to explore the life of our T-Rex, remember that even the fiercest creatures can find joy and laughter in the most unexpected places. Life may be harsh, but with a little humor and a sense of community, it can be a journey filled with delight. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges, and remember that laughter is a powerful tool to conquer even the toughest of days. As the morning sun rises over the Cretaceous landscape, our Tyrannosaurus Rex awakens with a newfound sense of purpose. After the success of the Great Dino Comedy Night, he feels invigorated and ready to tackle whatever challenges the day may bring. All right, today is going to be different, he declares, stretching his massive limbs and shaking off the remnants of sleep. I'm going to balance my comedy career with a serious hunt. With a rumbling stomach reminding him of the previous night's lack of dinner, he sets off into the wild, determined to catch something substantial to eat. First things first, let's avoid slipping in mud, he mutters to himself, cautiously navigating the forest floor. I can be a serious predator and a comedian at the same time. As he wanders through the trees, he can't help but reflect on his recent transformation. Who knew being funny could be so rewarding? I'm like the stand-up king of the dinosaurs, he chuckles, picturing himself as a superstar. Maybe I'll get my own comedy special, T-Rex, the roaring comedian. But as he strolls through the underbrush, a familiar sight catches his eye. A herd of hadrosaurs munching on ferns in a nearby clearing. Finally, this is my chance, he exclaims, crouching low and preparing to pounce. I've got this. With his heart racing, he darts forward, trying to channel all the grace he can muster. But just as he's about to leap, a butterfly flutters by, distracting him once again. Not the butterfly, he groans, feeling the familiar frustration bubbling up. Why can't I just focus? As he hesitates, the hadrosaurs catch sight of him and bolt in every direction. Great! There goes my lunch, he barks, watching them scatter. I can't even catch a break with a butterfly in the way. Feeling defeated, he watches the herd disappear into the distance. Maybe I should take a break from hunting, he muses, plopping down in a sunny patch of grass. I could use some time to think about my next big comedy routine. As he relaxes, he starts to brainstorm new material. What do you call a T-Rex who can't catch a meal? A dino snack! He laughs at his own joke. Maybe I'll add that to my set. But before he can get too lost in his thoughts, he hears a rustling nearby. Curious, he turns to see a group of smaller dinosaurs, presumably herbivores, peeking at him from behind a bush. What are you all doing? He asks, trying to sound intimidating, but they merely giggle. Are you trying to hide from the hadrosaurs? One of them teases, clearly amused. We saw you trip over a rock earlier. Ha, very funny, the T-Rex retorts, rolling his eyes. I'm just taking a break from being the king of the dinosaurs. It's exhausting work, you know. The little ones giggle even more, and he can't help but join in their laughter, realizing that maybe he could turn this into an interactive comedy session. All right, let's have a mini comedy show right here, he announces, and the herbivores cheer. Okay, what do you call a dino who tells jokes, he begins. A pun-derful creature. The young dinosaurs burst into laughter, and he feels a swell of pride. See? I'm not just a predator, I'm a performer. As he continues to entertain the little ones, he realizes that they're not just a distraction. They're a chance for him to practice his comedy skills. All right, everyone, what do you call a T-Rex who can't find food? A T-Rex hosted. The crowd roars with laughter, and he feels invigorated. This is way better than hunting. I could do this all day, he thinks, reveling in the joy of making others laugh. But as the performance goes on, he starts to feel that familiar pang of hunger gnawing at him again. All right, kids, I love this, but I need to find something to eat before I become a dino snack myself, he jokes, patting his belly. Can anyone help me find a snack? The young dinosaurs nod eagerly. We can help. We know where the best plants are, one of them exclaims. And there's a big patch of ferns just over the hill. Ferns? That's not quite what I'm looking for, but I'll take what I can get, he replies, following them eagerly. Lead the way. As they trek through the forest, the little dinosaurs chatter excitedly about their favorite foods. I love the crunchy ones, one exclaims, and the leafy ones are the best for making mud pies. Wait, mud pies? Is that a thing? The T-Rex inquires, genuinely curious. You mean you all eat mud? No, silly, we mix the leaves with mud to make pies. It's a game. Another laughs, and he shakes his head in disbelief. You herbivores are a strange bunch. Arriving at the ferns, he finds a delightful patch overflowing with greenery. Well, this is quite the spread. Thanks for the tip, little ones, he says, diving in to munch on the ferns. I'll make sure to add this to my comedy routine. What do you call a T-Rex who dines on ferns? A well-fed king. As he eats, he can't help but feel grateful for the unexpected turn his day has taken. I may not be the best hunter, but I can still find joy in the little things, he thinks, savoring the taste of the ferns. But just as he's about to take another bite, a loud crash echoes through the trees. What now? He mutters, looking up to see a massive sauropod stumbling through the forest. Whoa! Careful there, buddy, he calls out, watching as the gigantic creature barely manages to avoid knocking down a tree. The sauropod looks over, its long neck swaying. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Just trying to reach the high leaves. High leaves, huh? Isn't that a bit of a stretch? The T-Rex quips, grinning. You do realize you're the tallest dinosaur around, right? The sauropod chuckles, but then another loud noise interrupts them. A whole herd of herbivores is stampeding through, scared of the massive creature. Whoa, what's happening? The T-Rex exclaims, feeling the ground shake beneath him. Are we under attack? No, just my friends running away, the sauropod replies, looking bemused. They get scared whenever I make too much noise. Well, you're certainly making enough noise to scare off anyone. The T-Rex laughs, trying to diffuse the tension. Maybe you should consider a career as a musician instead. The sauropod's eyes light up. You think I could be a musician? I always wanted to play the leaves. Absolutely. Just remember to keep the volume down, the T-Rex jokes, and they both share a laugh. The absurdity of the situation breaking the tension of the stampede. As the ruckus settles down, our T-Rex resumes his meal of ferns. You know, maybe I should start a band, he muses aloud. T-Rex and the Leafy Band. We could play all the hits. The sauropod chimes in. I'd be your first fan. Just let me know when you're having auditions. As they share ideas for the band, the T-Rex feels a sense of camaraderie. Who knew I could make friends while trying to find food, he thinks, feeling grateful for the unexpected friendships he's formed. But as the sun begins to set, he knows he needs to get back to the comedy night. All right, I've had my fill of ferns, and I've made some new friends, he announces, standing up. But now it's time for the main event. Are you going to tell more jokes? The sauropod asks eagerly. Absolutely. I'll even make sure to incorporate some of our adventures. The T-Rex replies, excitement bubbling up. You'll be my opening act. With a wave to his new friend, the T-Rex heads back to the clearing, ready to continue the night's festivities. As he approaches, he can see the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Hey everyone, I'm back, he calls out, raising his stick microphone high. The dinosaurs cheer, and he feels a surge of energy. Tonight, we have a special guest joining me. Please welcome my new friend, the band leader, the sauropod. The crowd erupts in applause as the sauropod steps up, looking a bit nervous but excited. Hi everyone. I'm here to, play some leaves? The T-Rex can't help but chuckle. Don't worry, just be yourself. They're going to love you. As the sauropod attempts to play the leaves, the T-Rex steps back to observe. And now, what do you call a T-Rex who decides to start a band? A rocksaurus, he announces, and the crowd roars with laughter. As the night goes on, they alternate between comedy and music, filling the clearing with laughter and cheer. The T-Rex feels more alive than ever, realizing that being the king doesn't have to mean being feared. It can mean being loved for who he is. As the stars twinkle overhead, the T-Rex reflects on the joy of the night. I may not be the best hunter, but I sure know how to make friends and bring laughter. He thinks, feeling content. So, dear listeners, as we continue to explore the life of our T-Rex, remember that even in the toughest of times, laughter and friendship can lift our spirits. Life may be harsh, but with a little humor and community, we can navigate the challenges of existence together. Thank you for joining me on this uproarious journey through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the quirks of life, share a laugh with friends, and remember that sometimes the best way to tackle adversity is to do it with a smile. As the night of laughter and music winds down, the T-Rex stands before the cheering crowd, feeling a sense of accomplishment he had never experienced as a hunter. I can't believe how much fun we had, he exclaims, beaming at the dinosaurs gathered around him. This is what it's all about. Who knew being a comedian could be so rewarding? But just as he's soaking in the applause, a familiar grumbling sound comes from his stomach. Uh-oh, it seems my stomach didn't get the memo about the comedy night, he chuckles, patting his belly. All right, everyone. I need to go find some real food before I become a dino snack myself. As he waves goodbye to the crowd, all still buzzing from the show, he sets off into the night. A T-Rex can't perform on an empty stomach, he mutters, his determination renewed. Time to hunt. He wanders through the familiar woods, his senses alert. Maybe I'll finally catch that hadrosaur that keeps getting away, he thinks, imagining the glorious moment of success. But as he moves, he can't help but replay the jokes from the night in his head. What do you call a dinosaur with an extensive vocabulary? A thesaurus. He laughs, picturing the audience chuckling at his clever wordplay. Suddenly, he hears a rustling in the bushes nearby. What's that? He whispers, crouching low once more. trying to channel his predator instincts. But instead of a hadrosaur, out pops a small group of raptors. "Oh great, just what I need," he grumbles. "Hey, T-Rex, out for a midnight snack?" one of the raptors calls, their mischievous eyes gleaming. "You planning to trip over your own feet again?" "Very funny," he replies, rolling his eyes. "I'm on a serious hunt right now. You all just keep moving along before I decide to make a late-night meal out of you." The raptors giggle, clearly not intimidated. "You couldn't catch a cold, big guy. Why don't you let us show you how it's done?" "Show me how it's done? Please! I'm the king of the dinosaurs!" he barks, trying to sound authoritative. But deep down, he knows he's struggling with the whole hunting thing. "All right, let's see what you've got!" he challenges, watching as the raptors dart off into the underbrush, their speed a stark reminder of his own clumsiness. "I can't let them outshine me." With renewed determination, he hurries after them, but in his haste, he miscalculates a leap and lands awkwardly on a patch of slippery ground. "Oh no, not again!" he exclaims as he slides and tumbles, crashing into a tree. "I really need to stop doing that." As he picks himself up, covered in leaves and branches, the raptors can't contain their laughter. "Maybe you should stick to comedy instead of hunting," one of them mocks, and the others erupt in giggles. "Yeah, at this rate, you'll be the only T-Rex to starve to death because he trips over his own tail," another adds. And they continue to tease him as they zip away into the night. Feeling a mix of embarrassment and determination, our T-Rex takes a deep breath. "Okay, let's try this again," he mutters to himself, shaking off the leaves and trying to regain his composure. "I can do this." As he continues his search, he stumbles upon a small stream. "All right, a drink will help," he says, bending down to take a sip. But as he leans over, he loses his balance and ends up splashing water all over himself. Gah! Why does everything have to be so slippery? Just then he hears a rustle behind him. He spins around to see a lone hadrosaur grazing nearby, completely oblivious to his presence. "Finally! This is my chance," he thinks, excitement bubbling up within him. He crouches low, focusing on the task at hand. "This is it. No distractions this time," he whispers, inching forward with all the stealth he can muster. But just as he's about to pounce, he hears a loud snap behind him. "What now?" he mutters, turning to see a branch that he accidentally broke. The hadrosaur looks up, startled, and bolts away, leaving him once again empty-handed. "Seriously? Why can't I catch a break?" he shouts, feeling the frustration boil over. As he trudges away, he can't help but sigh. "Maybe I should just accept my fate as a comedian," he muses. "I can't catch anything, but at least I can make everyone laugh." And with that thought, he decides to return to the clearing and resume his role as the entertainer. "All right, I may not have caught a meal, but I can still bring joy to my friends," he declares, feeling a sense of resolve. As he approaches the clearing, he's greeted by the familiar faces of his audience. "T-Rex, you're back!" they cheer, and he feels a rush of warmth at their enthusiasm. "All right, everyone, time for the second act of the Great Dino Comedy Night," he announces, raising his stick microphone high. "What do you call a T-Rex who can't catch food? An ex-dino." The laughter rolls through the crowd, and for a moment, he forgets about his hunger. "You know, maybe I don't need to be the best hunter to be happy," he thinks, soaking in the joy of the moment. And so, as the stars twinkle above, our T-Rex embraces his true calling, finding fulfillment not in the hunt, but in the laughter shared with friends. This is what it means to be a T-Rex, he triumphantly declares, ready to take on whatever challenges await him, one laugh at a time. So, dear listeners, as we wrap up another chapter in the life of our Tyrannosaurus Rex, remember that sometimes the harshest realities can lead to the most unexpected joys. Life may be tough, but laughter is the best remedy for even the most challenging days. Thank you for joining me on this uproarious journey through the life of the king of the dinosaurs. Until next time, embrace the humor in life's challenges, and never forget that a good laugh can brighten even the darkest of moments.